Springbok Saga is proudly brought to you by Castle Lager, the taste that stood the test of time.
Welcome to the Springbok Saga. In this episode, we look at 1999, the year of the 4th Rugby World Cup tournament. Kola and Chinga is with me. Kola, a year of drama.
Dan, certainly more drama off the field than on, but the year was one chock-a-block full of matches, starting with the 2 tests against Italy, but so much taking place over the course of the year, which would have an impact on what happened to the Boks and their results, of course the World Cup as well.
In 1999, James Small would announce his retirement. The Springboks would lose to Wales for the first time in history. Gary Teichmann suffered an injury that would lead to his controversial omission from the World Cup squad. Yannick de Beer became a massive hero in the quarterfinal in Paris. Drop kick. That's looking good. South Africa would eventually drop out of the tournament in the semi-final. Yes, Kola, a year jam-packed with incident. There were the first 2 tests against Italy. Interesting because Brayton Polser had a day to shine. Corné Krige had a chance to captain the Boks for the first time. And that came about because of some incidents in the Super 12. On the same day that Gary Teichmann was injured in the Super 12, Bob Skinstad suffered his motorcar accident in Cape Town. And those 2 stories would be interwoven in the saga of 1999.
I was up there this afternoon and spoke to Clive Noble, and they did a scan and they checked out everything. And it's the medial ligament, which is not the serious one.
Bob is fine. He took a hell of a bump on the knee.
I was probably, at one of the highest sort of profile points in my career, in a car accident. And was he drinking? Wasn't he drinking? What was he doing? Did Justin Marshall attack him? Did he fall out of an aeroplane? A million stories surface, and then that just fuels the speculation and the sort of public need to know. I got stopped in a shopping centre in Johannesburg at the time by a guy who said, don't worry, I know that you're just pretending to have an injury or whatever, and the guys are going to bring you back for the World Cup. So everyone had a theory, and everyone had their own theory. I did say to him, could you not see the cast on my full-length cast on my leg?
The first test of the year was against Italy at Telkom Park, the old Boet Erasmus Stadium in Port Elizabeth.
Nicely for Swanepoel. Du Toit, plenty of space here. Fleck, good hands there to Percy Montgomery. Now Brayton Polser, wonderful hands. He scored 4 tries on his debut for South Africa in Mendoza, and now he gets a try. So the debutants are making their presence felt. Swanepoel, lovely pass for Polser. And Brayton Polser is away. It's going to be try number 2. What a wonderful run and the dive of triumph. Well, he's enjoying himself, Jevon. Boom, now Erasmus gets it away for Brayton Polser. Beautiful footwork, a hat-trick on Daewoo. And the handspring, and the crowd love it.
The Springboks were running rampant, and the second test at Kings Park in Durban turned out to be a record occasion for Stefan de Blanche, a debut for Dion Kaiser, and new captain Corné Krige led the side to a record score.
Actually, at that time, Gary Teichmann was the captain, and Rassie Erasmus was also in the team, and Nick Mallett actually offered it to Rassie, and Rassie said no for some bizarre reason. And Nick then came to me and said, look, it's going to be your first test. It is quite a big ask, but would you like the captaincy? And I said, well, definitely. I'll definitely never say no to the opportunity. I always knew that it was only going to be for 1 or maybe 2 games as long as Gary was injured. And it happened to be a fantastic game. We won 101-0, and I remember that day, trying to think of different things to call, because every time we kicked it in the corner and we won the line-out, we scored a try from a driving maul. So I thought, I've got to try and call something different because it's getting a bit monotonous. But it was just on a day that everything worked so well, and we were just so much better than the opposition.
This is now corner Krige force, and beautifully taken by Blanche. Van Herselen, and he finds Du Toit. We said, is he going to be there? But he look at this. Stefan Blanche becomes the first South African in history to score 4 tries on 2 occasions. Well, we were saying, Deon Keizer, will he get more of the ball than Brayton Polster did? They've now scored 10 against Italy. Van Straten, Mulder, Fleck. Oh, there's just like a knife through butter, and Deon Keizer, go Deon, yes, he's got his try with the first touch of the ball. Van Herselen, Drotsky, quick hands for Van Straten, Fleck, and here goes Stefan Blanche. That's it, that's the record. That is his 5th try in the Test match. Well, there again, we talked about that pressure quickly taken by Swanepoel Montgomery. This could be an 80-meter sprint, but he gets it away to Deon Keizer. Can he go? This is for number 3. He's going to make it. I think he's going to make it. Yes, he is. Wonderful run set up by Percy Montgomery. Well, this will go.
Dan, 1999 was also the end of an era for the Welsh. No more Cardiff Arms Park and the Box meeting the Welsh at the newly built Millennium Stadium.
It was billed as the opening of the Millennium Stadium, Collar, but it was everything but. What we didn't realise is I think the whole world went to play an opening game at the new stadium. When the Springboks turned up in Wales, the stadium in fact wasn't finished. The crowd sat in a horseshoe around one end of the ground, and it almost felt like the Springboks were led into an ambush. The interesting thing about that game, it had very little to do with what happened on the field. That was a blow in itself, because the Boks lost to the Welsh for the first time. But the real issue had happened off the field. It had happened in the days leading up to the Test match, when there was quite a bit of interference in the selection. I think it was the point that Nick Mallett really started to be under pressure. And as I say, then we went out and lost the next day. A crucial meeting took place the night before the Test, involving rugby and political heavyweights.
There's issues with quotas, there's issues with the coach, what was he going to do. So there were a lot of issues, and we had a meeting before the Test.
It was a courtesy visit by SARFU and ourselves to meet and to look forward to what exactly can we plan for the next World Cup, and also for the future of rugby in our country.
I think we are quite clear on our position with regard to giving opportunities to players of colour. We are committed to that, and if it needs be that we have to regulate that in our competitions, SARFU will do that.
Minister Balfour was adamant that government would not interfere with Springbok team selection.
By whom? By whom? I don't run rugby, so no interference from me.
The government's not going to regulate anything, or they do not plan to regulate anything. Again, the ball is in the court of the federations, in our instance rugby. In rugby, SARFU must show their commitment to the transformation process.
Mr. Kaninian, what is your position in regard to quotas in the Springbok Test team?
Well, my position personally is that I would hope that we will not get to imposing quotas in the Springbok national team, and that players will graduate from the structures we have in place to acquire colours, national colours.
Crazy to be discussing these things the night before a Test game, and there was, I think between Rian, Nick, Rian and the board, no one knew exactly what the position was, and that's all the players wanted to know. What is the situation? And like I said, you don't want to use that as an excuse, but I don't think there are many teams within the world that has to put up with that before a Test match.
And then it was time for the Test. with an unsettled Springbok team up against a Welsh team determined to cause an upset in their new shrine to rugby.
Held his head in disgust as they lost the ball, but now here's a chance for Wales. Mark Taylor! Taylor will score! A brilliant end to an opening half that's gone Wales' way. Swanepoel standing out is Yappy Mulder. Mulder through the gap. And now this is Terblanche. Terblanche knocks it forward in the tackle, surely. Play goes on. Try is awarded. The Springboks have their try. Quinnell is through the first tackle. Still going. Tremendous surge by the Welsh number 8. Up they come outside. Jenkins. Gareth Thomas. He's in the corner. Ducking and ducking little run, but the Welsh defence stood firm. But here's a major test. Montgomery's through. And that's a second Springbok try. Ed Morrison blows the final whistle. And that is one of the most remarkable results in the long history of Welsh rugby. What a turnaround from the humiliation of Loftus-Versfeld 12 months exactly ago.
Rob, the first Welsh captain ever to lead a team to victory over South Africa. You must be ecstatic.
Oh, unbelievable. I'm just really pleased. The squad's worked very hard. Even the boys who gone to Argentina put their business into, for that happened today. And, tails before half-time is a crucial try. I think it put us 13 points in front, and we knew then second half they were going to chuck everything at us. And our defence, in fairness, we defended very well.
Well, I suppose for the Welsh it was a fantastic result, and even more so for Graham Henry, who would once again cross swords with the Boks, but this time on the side of the All Blacks. Talking about the All Blacks, it was time to meet them again, this time in Dunedin.
Yeah, and the Boks obviously weren't a happy team. Collar, funny enough, you talk about Graham Henry, he was then known as the great redeemer of Welsh rugby because of that victory. They'd never beaten us. Ed Morrison, who refereed our final in '95, he was the referee on the day. So it was a very unhappy Springbok side that left Cardiff to go and start the Tri-Nations against the All Blacks, of all places, in Dunedin. Springboks have never won in Dunedin, and after this particular test match, which was a drama-filled test match which formed part of the great saga of Springbok rugby, it would have an impact on Gary Teichmann's career, and I'm afraid the result that we couldn't win in Dunedin didn't change.
Let us live and strive for freedom in South Africa.
I just knew that the relationship between Nick and myself was deteriorating. I'm trying to think if we flew directly from, it was virtually going straight from Wales through to Dunedin. So I'm not sure. The preparation for a Tri-Nations, I don't think, if you ask many coaches, they would do that. Go the Northern Hemisphere and then travel all the way that side. Normally you have your home tests and then you go and play. So I think the preparation wasn't ideal. Like I said, the relationship was getting strained, whereas previously we had a pretty much a open relationship, and I started getting the feeling that there was issues. The whole week we trained under wet weather, typical Dunedin style. So our whole game plan was to play that way, that wet weather rugby. And then come the day we just have pure sunshine. So that was a bit of an eye-opener when the guys woke up. And he had picked Gaffey and Dave, they didn't have a lot of experience. Because of the way we were going to play, a lot of the game plan revolved around them, box kicks, etc. And it did put them under pressure. And when we came to play the game in the sunshine, we failed to change our game, and I must take a fair bit of blame for that, because it didn't happen. We still try to do some box kicks, and I remember Dave missing one kick completely. So yeah, I think more that the game plan, I should have taken responsibility for that. But Nick, he was critical, but he was always critical prior to that too. The unfortunate thing was that two very inexperienced players, a lot of the game hinged them around them.
There it is for Brook to send it wide. Oliver to Jeremiah. Randall. And it's offside.
Forward. Ball's gone forward. It's a penalty here.
Just in All Black territory. Van Hesselen.
On the ground, thank you.
Kick of 47 metres.
Yes, it was the timing of the move, really. A little bit slow.
Van Hesselen. Du Toit hasn't passed it much today. Down as far as Umaga.
But it is interesting to see those statistics, isn't it? Javi Du Toit kicked it 6 times, passed it twice.
Now Du Toit, drop kick. From point-blank range, he's pushed it to the left. Carl Hoft again plays halfback. Now Mertens. With a little kick forward for Cullen. Here's the opening try. Christian Cullen. Charged. Back now for Marshall. Mertens. Cullen is wide. Cullen for his second. Beautiful defence. Try scored by Jeff Wilson. See it trapped in the back. Now it's there for Marshall. Justin Marshall. He'll go all the way. We're able to give the All Blacks a convincing victory in the end.
Well, Dan, it turned into a nasty result at the end of the day for the Springboks. And watching the match and seeing Gary Teichmann in action, no one would have thought that we were actually watching one of the great Bok captains at the twilight of his career.
A black day indeed, Collar. It was a record defeat against New Zealand, and at the time we had no idea that that would be Gary Teichmann's last Test match, the last time he wore the green and gold.
I could sense something, hanging around in Australia. There was no communication between myself and Nick and Ellen Solomon, so I could sense there was something that they just didn't want to tell me.
What that meant was that Rassie Erasmus had the chance on the way home through Australia to captain the Springboks for the one and only time that he ever did it.
Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, you come a waltzing Matilda with me.
The Australian crowd were in fine voice and the Wallabies in fine fettle up against a clearly unfocused Springbok team.
You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me.
So the Australian scrum popping that time. It's been one-way traffic so far. Bram van Straten has got it.
Yeah, good. Here we go. I warned you stay square.
This to level the scores. Horan. Tim Horan with sheer strength. The break, Gregan now. Herbert. Van Straten with a try-saving tackle. Gregan again, they want it out wide. Matthew Buck. Stefan to Blanche. Nathan Gray across. Gray has it. Here's Jeremy Paul. Joe Roth. What a pass from Paul. Here's Horan then. Australia chase it. Gray is there, so is Herbert. Montgomery lost it, Noriega. Willie gets up ahead of steam. Gregan, Horan. Jim Horan claps it on. Joe Roth, number 2.
It looked like the team was coming together under Nick Mallett. There was some new resolve. What happened tonight?
No, well, all I can say is Australia played well. They definitely played better than us, and we can just applaud them and say, well done.
Sunday after the Australian game, I went up and said, you know, what is the situation? And he said something that Bobby was going to be the number 8 in the World Cup. He's going to be taking Bobby to the World Cup in the number 8. So I said, well, does that mean I'm out? And he said, well, you've still got a couple of test matches to play before.
We were on our way home. There was plenty of controversy. The team's chemistry had been broken, the chain had been broken, and we had hardly landed back in South Africa when the bomb burst.
After much consideration, the Springbok selectors have agreed that Joost van der Westhuizen be appointed to captain the Springbok team for the home tests of the Winfield Tri-Nations as well as the 1999 World Cup.
I can remember I just came back the morning into the change room from a Bulls training, switched my phone on and I see Nick Mallett left a message. I must give him a call. So I phoned him and the first thing he said is, hello, how are you? Fine, thanks. Okay, do you want to be captain of the Springboks? And there was just silence and I said, I'll call you back. The first guy I phoned after that immediately was Gary Teichmann. I said, Gary, what's going on? And Gary said, no, that Nick phoned him and it's the end of the road for him.
I've spoken with Gary Teichmann and explained the reasons for the decision. It was a very difficult decision for the selectors to make, but it was a decision that we believe was unavoidable. The captain of the Springbok team has to be an automatic selection in his position in the starting 15. And looking at our best possible loose forward combination at present, we do not feel that Gary is an automatic first choice.
You know, when you do set your goals and suddenly you don't achieve them, it's a big disappointment. The difference between 95, I sort of had an idea that I wasn't going to make it. You know, all along I was pushing for a place, but Rudolph was playing really well, and you know there was Tian, so I sort of had an idea. But you know, this year was totally different. You know, as I said, I sort of set the goals to get there this year, and you know, things change, and you just got to accept them.
It was right to give him an opportunity to prove me wrong in the first 5 tests, and unfortunately, with his injuries, it wasn't possible.
By now, you know, I was a bit upset with certain things that had happened. I did pick up an injury. I thought I had a pretty good game. I thought even in Wales I'd started getting a bit of form back. I thought that game against New Zealand, even though we lost, I thought my individual performance wasn't bad. Then obviously with the injury I was left out.
I felt that Gary needed to play. He'd been out for I think 6 to 8 weeks with a knee injury in the Super 12, and given the fact that he'd been out, I think it was important for him to play and to confirm his position.
What bothered me most was the fact that you've been dropped for a guy that wasn't playing. If he was playing international rugby, and then I would have had no qualms about it.
You know, me competing for a position, then obviously got the backs up of, you know, some of the public, therefore some of the media, and quite possibly therefore some of the players, you know. And you got to remember, for me, competing for a position, I was competing against the captain, Gary Teichmann, Rassie Erasmus, who was player of the year, you know, in the Currie Cup, and Andre Venter, who was an icon in world rugby, you know, was a nominee for player of the year in South Africa as well. So while I do feel I was playing good enough rugby to be part of the mix, I don't think it was that well handled. But it wasn't up to me to handle it. It was me to try and play good rugby, you know. And I just think we're immensely lucky in this country to have those kind of problems. If those are our problems, then we've got a good future.
With Skinstad, exactly the same process is going to happen. Skinstad has had a test at the Sports Science. He's played 30 minutes. I'd like him to play again this Saturday. You know, he could easily not be on the bench, depending on how he comes through. But given that he's fit, I think he's a player that you know, was important to South African rugby.
He was also picking sort of Anton Leonard, and I think there was a comment made that I was sort of wasn't even the 4th best number 8 in the country, and you know, I thought I was starting to get back on top of it, and you know, I suppose those things hurt you more than the fact that you were dropped.
I knew that Nick was making a mistake. Not because of me, because of dropping Gary Teichmann. He had the team so close together. He didn't lead by words, but he led by example. He led by the way he lived and by the way he played. And for me, he was one of the best captains I've ever played under. And I truly believe that he would have gone and helped us win that World Cup in 1999, which I was captain in.
I want to reiterate, it's got nothing to do with personalities. It's got to do with simply a rugby decision on merit selection in his form. But I believe that in other loose forwards, we perhaps have a person who can be a game breaker, and that's what I'm really looking at.
I can't regret being picked because I don't do the picking. So I have always resolved to get on with it and to enjoy myself.
A lot of the cracks started to happen when Nick was looking for a place for Bobby, and he started moving Andre Venter around. So as much as mine happened later on, the other players, Andre was a brilliant player, and when he started trying to meddle with that, then players started getting insecure.
I still believe Bobby was brought in under pressure on Nick by someone, and he just broke the chain of trust, the chain of confidence between the back row three and obviously the half-back pairing.
Well, Dan, over previous years, Loftus had really served as a fortress for the Springboks, but this time around, things were really looking gloomy in the camp, and there was a new captain as well at the helm.
Yeah, so Loftus certainly wasn't working for the Springboks, but there was Joost van der Westhuizen with Teichmann out. Joost had become the captain, and interestingly, Kola, Joost captained the Springboks for the first time at his home ground, Loftus Versfeld, just as Gary Teichmann had captained the Springboks for the first time at his home ground, Kings Park, both of them against New Zealand, and sadly both in losing tests. And so it was down to Joost van der Westhuizen to lift the team with his immense personal determination. There was also a new leader for the country, as Thabo Mbeki made his first official appearance as President of South Africa at a rugby test match.
Van der Westhuizen, du Toit, also trying the drop, and he reclaims it for Andre Snyman. Snyman has the pace and the power! Now he decides to go for it, and now one wonders where he got injured in that collision, but this is now Andre Snyman. That looks like he's got a suspected broken leg. Now Umanga to right wing, Lamu left. That was nicely taken there by Maxwell. Mertens, chance here for Cullen. He's got enormous pace. Christian Cullen is away for the try. Puts pressure on the All Blacks. Van der Westhuizen, du Toit, Erasmus nearly through. Van der Westhuizen! Mertens, Randall, and here's danger for South Africa. Christian Cullen could go all the way again. Well, you cannot give that man space on the outside.
Well, Dan, it really was an ugly Tri-Nations to that point, and just one match remaining in Newlands. And what an irony to have one of Newlands' favourite sons wearing the gold of the Wallabies.
Yes, isn't that interesting? Tiaan Strauss, who'd missed out in '95 in the Springbok side, had decided to go to Australia and won a Wallaby cap. And there he was back at his home ground to play for the Wallabies, ironically in a test that the Springboks won. Another interesting point is that the Springboks had decided to recall Jannie de Beer and Brendan Venter from England to join their build-up to the '99 World Cup, and what a role they would play.
I've watched him very carefully since coming back. The Mpumalanga Pumas game, he made 21 tackles, which was always a problem, I thought. His defence, he's improved that tremendously. He's got a lot of experience, and I've got to, not being absolutely certain about Henry Honeyballs' position in terms of his injury, I've got to have an opportunity of looking at both Brendan and Jannie in a test match situation.
Ek self is nie 'n stormram nie, weet jy. Ek gaan nie insteel dit op en so aan nie. Dis my werk om opsies uit te oefen. En as dit die dag nie afkom nie, dan kan ek omdraai en sê maar dit het nie afgekom nie want ek het die verkeerde opsies uitgevoer. En maar as dit afkom, dan gee almal jou krediet vir dit.
Yeah, I mean it's an added advantage playing with Jannie, who I know so well, which is great, and I respect the way he plays. So yes, I'm looking forward to it.
Tiaan Strauss might have jumped ship, but the man known as the Lion of the Kalahari had lost none of his popularity in the camp.
Ek dink dit is seker maar baie emosie deur my hart gaan en ek is net jy weet ek dink ou wil net daar wees om die atmosfeer te voel en jy weet net die ondersteuning te voel wat ek al die jare gehad het, dink ek sal fantasties wees.
Penalisable offence, the referee waiting for advantage as Oost-Durant drives it forward. Van der Westhuizen going wide for Montgomery. Now he's got pace, so has Ben Toon, who tackles Robert. It's a penalty to South Africa.
Onder druk, hulle gooi die bal van Matt Burke.
Well, Jannie de Beer kicked that high and hard as Tian Strauss gets a tremendous welcome from this Newlands crowd. Gets to his feet very quickly. Now a chance here for Van der Westhuizen and Brayton Kolsa. Van der Westhuizen still covered. Van der Westhuizen, this captain drives. Van den Berg was there as well. Robbie Fleck is at scrum half. Is he going to go on his own? Says yes, he's got it. Robbie Fleck, the man who scored this try, Willie Schmidt.
Ja nee, soos ek reeds gesê het, die Springbok, hulle was die beter span geweest. Joost van der Westhuizen.
We needed the win before we go to the World Cup, and I just hope we can go from here on forward. And thanks to all the supporters out there who stuck with us. And it's only 4 in a row we lost. We won up now.
A black cloud might have been hanging over the Springboks, but in faraway Argentina, a promising new generation, with Jake White and John Smith in tow, was starting to emerge as the South African under-21s won their version of the World Cup in Buenos Aires.
Well, I think one of the most important things is that there was a direct link between the under-21s and the national team with Nick. I mean, obviously we spoke about the type of players we picked in the under-21 side, got boys that could play for South Africa later on. Maybe the same sort of playing patterns in terms of, where we thought our strengths were. I mean, our blocks are 2 meters tall, so we knew we could win a lot of lineouts. So as I say, Gert, I think probably the best thing was that, that we could work together with a national coach and make sure that those things that are important in South African senior side, get brought down to the juniors.
Joost van der Westhuizen took charge of the team for the World Cup, but behind the scenes there were plenty of problems.
6 weeks before the World Cup, the contracts weren't sorted. So now you had a different characteristic in the side, which sort of some players were positive, some were negative, and then we had categories A, B, and C. And I phoned a lot of people. I phoned Gary to help. I phoned Francois, and then it was quite difficult because it was something new for me. At the end of the day, we just had to go back and try to stick to tradition.
I'm a boca, I'm a boca, I'm a boca. I'm a boca, I'm a boca, I'm a boca. I'm a boca, I'm a boca. I'm a boca. One great nation, one great team. I'm a boca. One great nation, one great team. I'm a boca.
The Millennium Stadium was complete in all its magnificence as a nation who loves singing welcomed the world's rugby nations for the 4th Rugby World Cup tournament.
I am delighted to declare the 1999 Rugby World Cup tournament open.
Said farewell to Wembley, and now we're back in Cardiff because they finished it on time.
Well, Dan, the season again, and as tends to be the case later on, it really was a long one, especially now that the World Cup was underway, and it all got going for the Springboks at Murrayfield against Scotland.
Yeah, 99 was all about the World Cup. It was a strange welcome for the Springboks in Edinburgh because there was almost no atmosphere, there were no banners, and the champions were arriving. Funny enough, the Springboks only in their second Rugby World Cup, but their first game was against the Scots. I'll never forget Murrayfield had more green jerseys than dark blue ones, but a good performance by the Springboks, which they nailed down the game in the last 20 minutes, and a game to remember for the Burger King, Ollie LaRue.
Was Birds, Tommy Smith who got it away. Great tackle by Andre Venter, the ref waiting for advantage. Kenny Logan is straight to, and Scotland are in the lead. And another penalty to South Africa. Slaught by South Africa. Yanni de Beer curls it in, and the scores are level. And this is Andre Venter. Andre Venter has got over the line. The doctor from Bloemfontein, and that is just what the doctor ordered. Now you'll pick it up. Skinstad, well, Venter.
Simple move, scrum in the middle, very, very good attacking position.
Thundering in did the stocky front ranker. Oh, here's a space here for Armstrong. So close. Simpson, the number 8, goes in very quickly. Tate hovers. Now it's Leslie. Gets the try for Scotland. Armstrong. Montgomery is there. So is Tate, but Montgomery's done well. Venter, wide for Kaiser. There's space here for Kaiser. For Robbie Fleck. Robbie Fleck will make it all the way. Try time, South Africa. Van der Westhuizen. That's a good move by Van der Westhuizen. Oh, look at this! Look at this by Ollie LaRue! As they get it there, Rucking has been superb. Townsend wide. Now, and Dion Kaiser, he's been one of the heroes. Can he go all the way? I think he can. It's a wonderful score for Dion Kaiser. Question now is the control. That's good ball. This is Robbie Fleck. He's found space. If he can find Montgomery, it's all over. He finds Andre Venter, and that surely must wrap it up. Van der Westhuizen, he will give chase, I assure you of that. Rousseau coming up quickly. Murray was there. Rousseau is, well, look how many South Africans are there. They leave it to the skipper, and he increases his try-scoring record to 27.
This was the most important game for us for the whole World Cup, is to just get the win in the first game. We can say it's 2 easier games, but still we need to prepare for the quarterfinal.
Well, Dan, in retrospect, I suppose it really wasn't the best Springbok rugby to get over the minor hurdles, of course, en route to the knockout stages of the World Cup.
Yeah, I don't think it suits a top side when your next game's against Spain and Uruguay, teams we'd never played against before and really shouldn't test us. The reality was that we didn't play particularly well in those 2 games. The interesting one, of course, was that Uruguay was put at another soccer ground at Hampden Park in Glasgow. And the game produced an enormous blow for the Springboks because Brendan Venter was red carded and subsequently banned, and he was a key player in that World Cup side, and we lost him all the way to the final. Andre Vos became the 49th Springbok captain when he led the side out against Spain at Murrayfield in Edinburgh.
Spain experience always jumps to mind because it was one that wasn't great. We were expected to win easily, and at half-time things weren't going particularly well, and I remember clearly walking back into the change room at half-time and just being abused from the stands. People telling us how pathetic we were, and we didn't play well at all.
Pulsar. Maybe he's the catalyst that will just open it up. This is Andre Vos. Can he get his second try? Momentum takes him over. He's got Andre Vos with him. Pulsar decides to go for it. That's brilliant running by Brayton Pulsar. He's done it again for Werner Swanepoel. Swanepoel finding a little space. That's a beautiful scrum half break. And Anton Leonard is up in time. Super support by the flanker. Wonders if this isn't a little bit of a waste of time if it doesn't result in a try. But now Andre Vos is looking good with it. And he makes it South Africa's 4th try and Andre Vos' 2nd.
After wins over Scotland and Spain, the Springboks' next game was against Uruguay in Glasgow.
Andre Venter went grovelling for it, did well. This is Skinstad, the long ball. Fleck will get over here. The ruck, Van der Westhuizen, De Beer, Skinstad. Desperate tackle there by Paulia. Van der Westhuizen decided to go on his own. He has such an incredible way of worming his way over. Well, it goes that way. Well, that little grubber, Brendan Venter is flying. It depends on the bounce. Dion Kaiser.
Yeah, I think he stomped on his head, yeah. Oh, he's going to be in big trouble for that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, that's disappointing for Brendan Venter. He's come back into the team and done extremely well, but I'm afraid that there was a problem there.
They played with passion, and they let us not score a lot of tries. But as I said, it's basically our own fault. We need to pick ourselves up for next week's game.
Well, beating England then is never an easy hurdle to overcome, and yet again for the Springboks in the quarterfinals, this time in Paris, and it was pretty much where Yannick De Beer became Monsieur De Beer.
In fact, he became Monsieur Le Drop, because it was one of the great performances by an individual Springbok. He kicked 5 drop goals, which is a record. It still is a record to get the Springboks through what was a very difficult encounter against England. They were very much fancied. Everybody thought that Clive Woodward's team would take the champions out of the tournament, but it was not to be. We had a lot of trouble with the referee Jim Fleming during the game, but then they changed tactics. They started to go for the drop goal, and a great performance at the Stade de France, which was a stadium that in the future of the Springbok saga would become a very special place for us.
Thursday before with our captain training, Yannick De Beer called me over and said, "US, give me a few passes. I just want to get my momentum, see if I can, just be confident." So after about 100 passes, I said, "No, Yannick, that's enough. I mean, Smiley, come, pass a little bit, It's after training, I want to go and rest." And in the game, it happened. First one went through, second one went through, and at one stage after the try, I just said to the guys, "Listen, this is what we're going to do. Give it to Peter Miller, set it up. We do a bok. It was a call, Yannick drop back, and we go." And it worked. So the players actually changed it on the Thursday and on the field.
Well taken by Crano Otto. And Jim Fleming immediately having an effect on this game. Well, that's a good strike by Yannick De Beer. That's going to be another 3-pointer. Chance here for Yannick De Beer to make some inroads on the situation as back chases over. And Yannick De Beer was flattened.
Right on the 5-metre line.
He struck it well. He has the distance. And he has the direction. Van der Westhuizen, Erasmus, Drotsky. Good defence by England. And England have stolen it away, but Van der Westhuizen read the play extremely well. Penalty to South Africa.
I think England may be ruining. That's a great kick by Yannick De Beer as we watch that go over and bring the score to.
Everybody said, I can remember somebody said, I thought England. What actually happened is we prepared a nice running game. That's where the first try comes from.
Grewcock's been very good in the line-out. Sorry, Joel.
I was going to say, and obviously, if you do force the opposition to give away a penalty, it's within kicking goal, within kicking distance.
Well, Grayson again. This time it is not a good kick at all. Beautifully taken by Rousseau. There were players on his inside, but he couldn't recover. But Montgomery had chance here for Peter Muller. Van der Westhuizen's on the outside. Can he get it down? Yes, says Paul Hovis.
Got it down, but not before the flag. Now, I must say, when I saw the little gap in the little, I realized that I must lift my hand as soon as possible, because obviously the defense is coming from the side. And I tried, and as I did this, they hit me as well, and I tried as quick as possible, but I did think my hand did touch the flag first. But then again, the flag was sideways, not straight up. But I think if we had TMOs, it wouldn't have been allowed. But now again, with the new rules, it would have been allowed.
He struck it well, it's curling in. He is really on song. So is Paul Grayson for England. Ball up Van der Westhuizen. De Beer, he practiced. He's got it! He's got it! Now it's Durant, gets it wide for Montgomery. De Beer, another drop kick. He's turned. Yanni De Beer watches it. The hand goes up. He's got it again! Van der Westhuizen, here comes the third drop kick. Is it good? Yanni De Beer's watching. Yanni De Beer watch. I don't believe it! It's third time over the bar, and this man, Yanni De Beer, is changing this game around. Van der Westhuizen, Mala. Just setting it up. Here goes De Beer again. Is that going to pop over the crossbar? Yes! My word, it has done it again! Good work there by the forwards. Van der Westhuizen, Erasmus. Narkodrotsky was in quickly. Yanni De Beer, don't believe this. If this guy, he's turned! 5 drop kicks! That has got to be some awesome record!
Now I'm just laughing. You know, I've sort of beforehand I sort of nominated 5. You know.
In England, toss of a coin, any team could win it.
I've never seen a game with 5 drop goals, and you know, we tried everything it wasn't meant to be, and that's it. Game's over, World Cup's over, England, and we're all very disappointed. Can't say any more than that.
It has been that man there, Yanni De Beer. What a performance.
It had been a topsy-turvy year in terms of results, but I think that performance against England all of a sudden meant that the Boks were in with a shout and marching towards that semi-final against, of course, the Wallabies.
It absolutely elevated the Springboks. Going into the tournament, because of the controversy around Gary Teichmann, we hadn't really been fancied. We were sidelined a bit, and then we produced that performance. Suddenly everybody was saying, you know, the Springboks could retain the Webb Ellis Cup. But there was a funny incident before we even got back to London. The Springboks and England had to go back on the Eurorail. Their hotel was in Richmond, which is just in the shadows of Twickenham. And the England team had been so confident that they were going to go through the quarterfinal and play in the semi-final that they hadn't checked out of their hotel.
Yeah, we actually laughed. We saw it as very funny because we actually rubbed the salt in the wind because they really thought they were going to be in a semi-final. And so we just smiled. It didn't even bother us. I mean, some players were tired, but it was actually so nice to see that we killed them off the field and on the field.
But of course, and then into that game, a semi-final, our second time at the Rugby World Cup, and we've gone to the last 4 yet again.
South Africa have fanned out. Drop kick by Larkham has come off the side of his boot. De Beer again with a drop attempt. That's gone wide. That Gregan, South Africa desperate to get back in a defensive position, but they were all offside. That's well struck by Matt Burke. Rousseau looks to go on his own. There was nobody really wide for Peter Rousseau. He seems to have struck that well, and it's over. Horan was offside, palpably offside. Will that curve in? He's struck it well. The people who are behind the post were on their feet immediately. Desperate defence by Australia. Wide for De Beer. The drop is charged down. He's struck it quite nicely. They love it to the crowd. Van der Westhuizen digs for it, moves it wide for De Beer. The drop kick. He's got it. He's done it once again. Now Andre Vos drives it forward. Ollie Leroux is behind him. Van der Westhuizen goes. Couldn't get away from Eels. Venter drives it on. Van der Westhuizen, it's a penalty to South Africa. The wind will probably bring it back. He's struck it well. He's struck it well. It's there. It's there. The score's a level. They will play extra time. He struck that well. The flags go up. And he continues to do so. We're back at 21 all.
But then the drop goal, I mean, I went across the fence as quick as I can, and Rassie was on my inside, and suddenly I just saw him throw the ball and it went, and as I turned around, no, it can't be. And I think that sort of broke the spirit. And although I tried, and Rassie and the guys tried to pick the guys up, I mean, after that drop, Australia just had so much confidence.
Looking good, looking good. Goodness me, Stephen Larkham.
It's easy to say it's the drop goal, but we also had our opportunities. One or two ways we break and kicked. I can remember I threw a dummy because everybody was expecting Jannie De Beer to drop. And I went through and I saw the wingers come, and I saw the fullback, and the one thing that stuck in my mind was Nick Mallett said, never ever kick the ball away. And he said to me as well, especially when I broke, is rather find support. Till today, it messes my mind. Should I chipped? And what would have happened? But what I did is I kept the ball, waited for the support, and from there on after that we made a mistake. But I believe I should have chipped the ball.
Said mistakes will count. And there we see another one.
As if he misses, will South Africa counter-attack? And it's looking good. The crowd roar from the crowd. Australia are in the final for the first time in 11 games. South Africa experience what it's like to lose, Joel.
If there was a difference between the two sides today, where do you think it was?
I think one drop goal against us.
Dan, I can recall Steve Larkham's boot absolutely obliterating any form of celebration that was going on from that World Cup out with the Springboks. But despite that, and despite the fact that the Boks were no longer in the running for the Webb Ellis Trophy, there was still one more match to play.
Yeah, one game at the Millennium Stadium, the third place playoff. It's a funny game. The players and the officials all say it shouldn't be there, it's not necessary. The Springboks were up for it because it was New Zealand who'd been knocked out by France. People say players weren't motivated for the game, but take a listen to this. This is Joost van der Westhuizen ahead of that third place playoff.
I was injured in May. I tried to keep it out of the press, spoke to Dr. Frans Verster, and I said to him, you know what, Doc, I did my ligaments in one of the Super 12 games. And at one stage I went up to a training camp. Remember now, I'm already captain. And I said to Dr. Frans Verster, I have to be honest with Nick. I can't go like this if I'm not fit. Not a lot of people know it, so it might be the first. And I said to Nick, I said, Nick, I don't have ligaments, but give me a chance to get fully fit. And he said, he'll give me a month, because within a month we're going to have the final fitness test. And if I'm fit, I can go. So he was sort of, I don't think he was in a very happy mood that day. But the interesting thing is when we went back for the test on the Cybex, I strapped my knee, and my injured knee actually came out better than my left knee. That's how I worked to really get into the World Cup side and take them to Scotland.
Montgomery, little bit of a chance here. He's hit that well. Oh, it's struck the crossbar, and it's over! Now Brayton Paulson, a little bit of space to move. Decides to go that way. Gets a hack ahead again. Now the chase is on. It's a run now. Cullen gets back. It's Paulson and Cullen. So Merton's there. Paulson, Brayton Paulson has got the touchdown for South Africa. Henry Honeyball with the conversion. Now this to add the 2 points. Beautifully struck straight over the crossbar. Referee, advantage to South Africa. You can see his arm is out, the ball not emerging, and Honeyball, he is able to slot yet another kick for the Springboks. You see the referee arms up in the air. The advantage is to South Africa. This is right in front of the post. Henry Honeyball. The flags are up. Good attacking position. Montgomery. This for the second. Is it there? Yes, it is. South Africa will win this game. The All Blacks, a desperate attempt to pull something out of the fire, but to no avail. Van der Westhuizen, as always. That's it. That's it. The referee's final whistle goes, and South Africa end up as third place in the World Cup of 1999.
How difficult was it for the team to lift themselves for this game when you'd missed out on the final?
Well, if you're South African and you play against All Blacks, it's very easy.
That's the only excuse you needed.
That's the only excuse we needed. And also we played for Henry Honeyball. It's his last game, and I think it was a nice gesture from us just to give him a victory, and he can remember us with a smile.
I can remember the biggest disappointment for me was coming back in 1999 and opened the report, and front page said it was your fault. But in my heart, I also know where the interview comes from and the dishonesty around it. And that's the type of thing you need to work through your life, but to go through it and realize that in your heart, you've done your best. Doesn't matter what people think outside. I think it's a very, very tough job. And it does make you a clan, but if you look after it, those exact characteristics you take into your business.
Australia would go on to win the Rugby World Cup against France in Cardiff in 1999. In 2000, Springbok Rugby would enter troubled times. There would be more controversy around coaches, more sagas around captains. We leave you with a tribute to one of the great Springboks and a true character of the Springbok saga, James Small, who retired in 1999.
But against Australia, the Sydney Football Ground, the first test, 93, we played under lights, and I scored 2 tries that night. I scored 1 try in the top right-hand corner. That'll to me is the best international try that I scored, you know. I remember the first thing that I remember seeing when I ran out, there was a banner. Somebody was holding a banner in the back corner. It said, "Johnny, you've got a small problem." I just thought, well, that's what people believe of me, and it's just made me feel special, you know, because the rising that I needed. I think the greatest part of the whole celebration, we had a bus trip through Joburg Centre. And that's got to be the greatest day of my whole life, without doubt. It was just the most exceptional day I've ever experienced, having united the people the way they were. And there was a black guy that picked us up here at Ellis Park and ran behind the bus throughout the whole trip. All the way. I mean, it was about 5 or 6 Ks that we eventually did. But he was behind the bus all the way, through all those millions of people and what have you. That to me was a one-off. That's never ever going to be achieved again in this country's history.
Montgomery, a bit of pace again with this fella. He's clean through, but he's given it to James Small. That's a new South African record, and that really ties it up for the Springboks. 47-10 they lead. There's only about 9 minutes left.
It gives a lump in my throat, and I think of my family and that. Kind of lost the burning desire that I always kind of represented myself with. That was, I think, with the money in the game and what it offers as far as financial security and that is concerned, became more of a priority than the essence of the rugby player that I was. And I think that moment was the defining moment for me.
The great attraction, is it's another challenge for me.
This episode of Springbok Saga was brought to you by Castle Love, the taste that stood the test of time.